Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. Today is February 3rd, 2023. And I'm really excited today because we finished the background on this painting and we're finally getting to the star of the show, which is the tiger themselves. Not gonna pick out any specific pronouns because this could be a female tiger. We have no idea. It's really hard to tell on tigers. I'm pretty sure it is. Okay. At this stage, and I'm sure that many artists out there are feeling the same way I do right now, which is, you know what? This is looking pretty darn good, and I don't want to screw it up, right? We got a good drawing in. We have the background laid in. We've spent all kinds of time. Good morning, Thinker. We spent all kinds of time working on this composition, getting everything set up. And the last thing that we want to do is screw it up, right? That's the last thing we want to do. So how can we prevent that? How can we make sure we don't screw it up? Well, that's honestly the reason why we've done all of the preparatory work up until then, is to give us a fighting chance, or a much better chance of getting to a very successful painting. And we're in digital right now to make sure, or to really help us out, to keep us from, screwing up things, for lack of a better term. Hey, good morning, Mom. Welcome. Glad you could join. I'm reminded of a stage in my life when I was an adolescent and I was like, oh no, my mother's here. And now it's like, hey Mom, how you doing? Thanks for joining. That's pretty awesome. Love it. Thanks, Mom. Always supportive. Pretty wonderful. I'm still ecstatic about being able to get my reference on the Krita document like this and being able to move it around so easily just by hitting R for reference. It's fantastic. I knew you get a kick out of that, Mom. Okay. This is going to be a fun one. So practically, how do we not screw this up? Well, we're in digital. We have layers, we have Control Z, we have, just which we can quickly undo things. We have all these tools at our fingertips to help us out with this. Let me get to my tiger palette. So we picked out some palette colors beforehand, when we were working up this entire composition and everything. And what I want to do right now is find the best brush that is going to simulate hair, because we're going to be doing a lot of hair, okay? And what we're not going to do is we're not going to sit here and we're not going to pick out like this color and do each hair follicle. That's not going to happen. We want the texture of hair, but we want to get the form of it more than anything. So how do we describe form? We describe it within value. Yeah, mainly value. That's how you describe form. How you adjust a value over like the nose. So this nose is round and dips down. Does this kind of thing. The muzzle there. Thinker says, have you used Krita's RGBA brushes? Yeah, Krita, jeez. Yeah, Thinker. Oh, weeks ago, I did a whole tutorial on creating brushes, and it was using the RGBA brushes. The thing about the RGBA brushes, which they do look very impasto-like, is it's almost like, it's kind of a fake impasto in a lot of ways. And there's a couple in here that just look bad. Like this one. It's underneath my drawing. It's great for, you know, throwing in a bunch of texture, I think. But yeah, it doesn't really look so good in my opinion. They're not great for a lot of detail as well. Like if I change this brush so it's small and I'm going, you know, into it, it's just like a bunch of paints, you know, swatches everywhere. So there's some good and bad to it. I like this one here. You know, what's the name of this one? This is Thick Paint, RGBA 202 Thick Paint that comes with Krita. This one's not too bad because you can really kind of adjust it. The one thing that I found is, you know, when you're trying to make things look exactly like oil paint, which this is doing really well, is you also bring in the problems that you face with oil paint, which is reflection. And a lot of these RGBA brushes, you know, they do it so well. If I get like a dark color, let's get a black on here. This one doesn't show it as much. This one will. Let me zoom in now that it's a small. You get these kind of reflections going on, which is, you know, could be kind of cool. You'll have to work it up. But not the kind of brush that I think is going to work for the Tiger right now. Honestly, I think maybe a couple of those would have worked well for the background. So could have kept those in mind. I'm going to start with the David Ravoy brushes, which I downloaded. He had a brush set that came out for January. So go to davidravoy.com, REVOY, and grab these brushes. He's like kind of the Krita mascot. And we're going to check out a few brushes here. I'm going to pick out, actually I'm going to pick out one of the colors off the Tiger, which I think is pretty close to what I already have. Maybe something a bit lighter. And see what we get with some of this. Just trying out some different textures, especially over here when we're going to be working within the mane that comes out. That one's not working too well. Let's try this guy. Now this one could work well, so that's pretty good. Let's try this one. Now I'm doing all of this on a separate layer so that I can quickly and easily just hit the delete button and it'll all go away. Yeah, I don't like that one. It's a bit too, it has some flatness to it. So if I make it really large, you know, it's very flat, but then it has these kind of stripes through it, which honestly just isn't doing what I want. But this one's nice because, let me make this one larger. If I press lightly, everything gets this kind of stroke to it. That kind of looks like long hair as it is. Maybe I'll try that one lightly. No, which one was it? Actually, that would work if I don't press so hard. It's a very smooth feel to that brush. Okay, so very smooth. Could work for the nose. That's this one up here. And then this one could work well for, you know, the more scruffy part of this tiger. So you see the difference in texture there. So if I do, oh, there's actually a background texture to this brush as well, but that background texture is not moving. Oh, wow. You know, I will probably change this brush. So the pattern, that's what it is, the background pattern. Yeah, it doesn't have random offset on the horizontal and vertical offset. It doesn't have those. So if I turn these on, it might slow down the brush. But what you'll see is like there's a pattern back there that is, you know, in the same place. If I do that, every stroke, the pattern will kind of move around a little bit. Actually, I think I had the offset set to 0. No, it's just completely random. Okay. So every time... No, it's not changing. Why isn't that changing? It should change. It's a random offset. Maybe turn off invert pattern. No, it's not changing. Yeah, that's really strange. Because usually with the random offset, it would change, and that's going to... Yeah, I don't, because of that, I don't like this brush as much. Darn it. Such a good brush. Let me play around with it for a little bit longer. And this is what I'm finding about with brushes, honestly, is really you just have to get in there and kind of play with them and, mess around with stuff, see, what you can do for changes to get, the feeling that you want. See how maybe it's really hard to see this, but there's these kind of tendrils of texture that run through every single stroke, and I don't want that. I want it to be completely random. So if I put on random offset, there shouldn't be this discernible pattern in the background, right? Even when I go over it very lightly, that same pattern is there. I like the pattern, but why doesn't it... or the texture. Let me choose a different texture. Not that one. Maybe something a bit... Or maybe no texture at all. Maybe I'll just turn off the texture. Let's see. Let me try a couple more here. Not the wood. See, that's what's interesting. If I do the wood, you can tell right away what I'm talking about. It's kind of like I'm painting a color over this wood tree. And it will always, like the texture will always show through. Okay, offset is just not working. Texture mode. It was set to height. Let's change it to a different thing. Multiply. Okay, cut off disabled. Cut off pattern. It's still not changing. All right, let me go to, maybe it's the brush engine. What brush engine? It doesn't show what brush engine it's using. I bet you if I go to one of those RGBA brushes, so this one here, yeah, see the random offset is set there. Well, that's not changing either. I wonder if the latest update broke that. Yeah, that's really annoying. Okay, let's try that brush. Let's go back to that brush. I'm gonna reset it. Just hit W, our really awesome shortcut for that, so it's back to normal. And then what I'm going to do is just turn off the pattern, and we'll see what it looks like out around here just without the pattern. See how much more smooth that is than, before it didn't have that smoothness to it. And now we'll see, is it any different than this brush if I build it up? Yeah, it does have some differences. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on with that brush, but there must be some blending or something going on now. I don't think it was doing that before. That's really odd. Okay, I'm having some issues with these brushes here. Sorry guys, wish it's one of those things where when you're oil painting, when you're traditional painting, you don't run into, the program doing something different than you expected. This brush is doing something different than I expected. No, that really doesn't happen. Now we created this brush here, and it has a pattern. Let me make sure that I'm on the right brush. Okay, I'm on that brush. It has a pattern with a random offset as well. And I remember that was moving every time. Why is this? Okay. Yeah, this was changing every time. Now it does not. Okay, pattern random offset is broken right now. That's what I'm going to say, because I know before that this was constantly moving. There could be something else that I'm missing. Okay, we're going to go with it how, without that pattern random offset. We're going to start with this brush, a bit smooth. Actually, no, we'll start with this brush. Okay, we'll just start with this brush. And we'll keep playing around as we go, honestly. I'm going to zoom out just a bit so I can see both the reference and the tiger that we're going to be painting. And where are we going to start? I think we'll start with the center of interest. And I don't have any eye colors picked over here, so I'm going to pick some eye colors. And we're going to start in there. And we're going to keep it free and loose right now. We're in digital. We can really play around with this. And I'm going to have a lot of fun, actually. And I'm painting the eye on the right, but looking at the left eye. And I like how that there's this really light kind of highlight around the edge there. And the one thing that's happening is our drawing is really taking on a lot of the painting aspect. And so I want to fade that back. So I don't want to lean on that drawing, okay, as much. We're going to create our own as we're going through this. So as you can see, once I change the opacity on that drawing, we lost the kind of striking nature of that eye because we lost those darker values. So you always have to be careful of that. The layers that you're on, are they providing everything for you? Is it kind of giving you a false representation of what you're actually doing? When you're starting a painting, or you're working on a very important part of the painting, like the focal point, the best thing you can ever do is just get in there and just put down something. I usually start with whatever's the easiest. So it could take a moment for you to sit there and think about your painting. Just look at it for a bit and see, okay, determine what would be the easiest thing to paint. In my opinion, this eye is the easiest. I mean, it's, almost a circle. It's already drawn out. So we're going to start with this. And it's, win-win. It's the center of interest. It's the most central part of this entire painting. The biggest focal point. Well, it's small, but not. It's the most important part of the focal point of this tiger, are the eyes. So I kind of lucked out on that one. These should be pretty easy. And I'm just, the reference we picked is so good that I'm kind of just pulling directly from it. Coloration and everything. I may make some adjustments though to kind of push it in some ways, because when I'm selecting this color here, it's definitely it's showing up as a yellow and orange now in the color selector. But I can keep that same value and just change the hue over to green to get it a bit more kind of striking. Maybe darken it up and gray it up just a bit, that green. I have a painting tutorial out on how to paint eyes. And one of the things that I always say on that is, because we deal a lot with color, is here's how you start. You get something close. So we, if it was traditional, we have tubes of paint, and these eyes are kind of a yellowy green. Well, I don't have a yellowy green in a tube paint, but what I do have is, a yellow, which would be closer to, it would be, one of the yellows that I have. So I pick that out, and that's my starting point. Digitally, I do the same thing. I pick out, I do a color selection with what I see there, and it gets me pretty close. And then I put that down. On traditional painting, I probably wouldn't put it directly on the canvas. That yellow, I knew it would be off. You could tell it's off. Here, I can put it down and really get a deeper understanding without, harming anything or causing any extra issues. But what we do is we put it down and we say, okay, where does it need to go from here? There's really only 3 simple questions you ask yourself. Does it need to be lighter or darker? Which is the most important because that's value. Does it need to be more intense or less intense? Let's chroma. And does it need to be warmer or cooler? So closer to blue or closer to red? You answer those questions, and then you know exactly where you need to change your color picker. You answer those questions when you're doing traditional painting, and you know exactly what tube of paint you need to pick out to adjust the color that you have on your palette. You can get there really quickly, and you can do it with minimal mixtures. And that's important because it will keep your painting mixtures really clean. Pressing really lightly on this, and I think I've darkened it up too much. Really holding down that Control Z. So I'm going to go back to picking that green. And as much as Krita tries to help with lining up all of the colors that we've previously picked here, like I can go back to this green, there's always going to be a need of adjustment from yourself. Let's intensify that. Okay, let's go with that for now. We'll probably come back into that eye and intensify it if we need to later. But the background, this outline around the eye, is going to intensify it. And that's pure black. So we're hitting our limits on this of value. Throughout the entire painting, we have compressed our value scale. But for this center of interest, I'm going to go all the way. You know, all the way to white, all the way to black. We're going to pull out all the stops. I wonder where that phrase came from. I work at a job where I am very fortunate to be able to speak to a lot of people that live in other countries all over the world. And I have to constantly think about these sayings that we have in America and if they would translate well to other countries. So when I'm talking to them, I have to be careful. You know, it's so often we try to get our point across by using these sayings, these phrases, like pulling out all the stops. So it's kind of led me down some rabbit holes of, you know, where did that saying come from? One that you said, thinker, was soup to nuts. And I was thinking, where the heck did that come from? And what does that mean? I mean, I know what you're trying to say, you know, beginning to end, the whole process. So I did some research on it, and it's basically with a meal. So, you know, in a meal, we have, you know, the appetizer that you start out with, and you usually end with a dessert. And I guess when the saying was made, soup was the appetizer and nuts were normally the dessert. So you're talking about the entire meal, soup to nuts. It's kind of funny. Sorry, I love the tangents I get onto. Not related to art whatsoever, but... Thinker says, how about adding the very lightest highlight on the eye? Not yet. Not yet. I'm going to reserve that. And why? Why? So why am I going to do that? Because here's why. If I look at the eye over here, I'm almost certain that this white of the tiger's fur is lighter than the highlight. And let's see. Yeah, so I picked that one and it's over here, you know, pretty light, but as soon as I pick that white, yeah, bam, it goes all the way to the bottom. So I'm going to try and make a determination of which one do I want to change. And then, you know, let's control Z this, you know, don't forget that we're changing the color, the value, the way that light is hitting this tiger. And honestly, now that I thought about that, holy cow, I need to change what I'm doing. Again, thanks for asking the question, Thinker, because I almost made a big issue, I almost created a big problem for ourselves. Okay, so in the original thumbnails that we created, the light is coming from above. And so we're creating this kind of striking light, you know, from down below. So I forget what kind of lighting situation that's called because they all have names to them. But imagine being lit from above, right? And this kind of glowing light right on the head. We're going to get, you know, this big shadow area down here. Turn that black so that we can see. We're going to get this big shadow area down here under the head. Maybe some shadows under here. But the top of the head, especially the, you know, the forehead, the um, the top of the nose, the muzzle, the bridge of the nose. That's the word I was looking for. The ears up here. There's going to be this kind of very intense light, and it's going to fall off gradually. Definitely. Let's do this. I'm going to turn on alpha transparency, or lock my alphas on this one. And I'm going to do a couple things. First, I'm going to grab a gradient. And let's see what we got in there right now, and if it stays within that. Yes, it does. Okay, good. It's not going to be that intense. What I'll probably do is pick out like one of these lighter orange colors, darken it up just a bit, maybe a bit more. So if you remember, what I was talking about before was something that Craig Mullins had said. Oof. Which was any plane that you have always create some kind of like transition within the value. So from light to dark. And within that transition, you also want to change hue a bit. And that's what we're going to kind of play with here first. We go back to a brush. I'm going to pick out one of these kind of rich oranges, make it even richer. That's going to be the back of the tiger. And I'm just setting up these value changes right now. So let's do this. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I can see the entire head of both tigers. And we're going to use maybe we're probably going to use a flatter brush. And I'm going to keep creating layers for almost everything that I do, so that I can keep it all separate. Okay, this brush will work. This brush will work well. So right here, we're on this kind of yellowy orange color. I want to make it a little bit more orange and maybe intensify it just a bit more chroma. And I want my alpha on that as well. It's a bit darker than I wanted. Let's lighten it up some. Actually, instead of doing the lights first, let's do this. Okay, delete all that. Let's work on the darks first. And this is completely out of our head now. Oh, and I also need to bring out our older tiger. So hit R, grab this reference, which is super huge. Let's make it smaller. Actually, I should do that with this one as well. We don't need them that big. We don't have to go 1-to-1 on this like with drawing. Oh, and I wish I should have flipped this, but that's okay. We're artists. We can make the change in our head, right? Back to my brush. And the darker values. Let's go with... I'm going to try and bring some intensity into these darker areas. So right under the chin. So this is going to be like background indication of value. This is not going to be the end product for this tiger. Another thing that I talk about in that eye painting tutorial a lot is the purpose for separating out the parts, the processes of making a painting, and how helpful that is. If you start out a painting with just a white canvas, digitally or traditionally, and you just go for it. I'm gonna bring my drawing back up. And you just go for it. Let's say you just start out with white, or with on a white canvas, a gray canvas, whatever, and you just go for it. What you're doing is you're doing everything at once. You're doing the drawing, you're doing the value, you're doing the hue, the saturation, proportions, perspective, composition, everything all at once. You started nowhere. You don't know any of this. You don't even know your idea. You're just drawing and painting, and that's fine. That's called sketching. You're just sketching out things and just having fun. And that's, that's part of art, and that's really good. But if you want to make, if you're going for a finished painting, the best thing to do is follow the same process that we've gone through with this tiger. If you want to make an impactful painting, in fact, impactful piece of art, the best thing you can do is go through this process. And you separate out the complexities. Instead of dealing with everything all at once, you figure out the idea first. Then you work on the composition. You get the thumbnails and everything in. You figure out all the problems with your composition, make changes, change up how you do things so that, or how the composition is laid out so that you describe your purpose for the art, for the piece better. And then once you got that, you say, okay, well, now I need to get into the specifics of the drawing so I can figure out all my drawing problems that I'm going to run into. Which you've kind of done some of that with the composition. And then after that, you've got your composition, you got your drawing figured out, and then you start on the details of the painting. Then you start thinking about color and edges. Making adjustments, figuring out issues that you didn't know that you were going to have in a lot of cases. And so this is what I'm trying to do here, is I'm getting back to that value stage where I'm throwing in these darker values because we have a different lighting situation on this tiger than what we're actually seeing. We're not copying from this photo as far as the light is concerned. So what I'm doing is figuring out, okay, well, where is this shadow going to land on their chest? I know the form of this tiger. I know how things kind of flow and adjust. And if I have a light coming from above, where is it going to be dark? We're breaking it down into, more simple, step-by-step ideas. It's interesting how I am not seeing that dark color at all. I feel like I hit a button. Oh, now it's good. So inside the ears, there'll be a lot of shadow. Thinking about the form. Some of the pieces of the mane out here will have a transition, dark to light, the dark on the bottom, light on the top. And then we're going to have kind of a darker coloration back here because the muzzle is coming out. And what's nice about this, what's really interesting about the skull of the tiger is these, like the chinks, the cheeks are sunk in basically. This will help push out that muzzle a bit more as well. Just lightly kind of building up that value. Yeah, I could see it getting pretty dark right here and right there. And then maybe getting lighter as, you know, we have some of this hair that's coming out in places. Are you going to add a shape of actual sunlight on the tiger's head? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. We can try it. I mean, this is, you know, the power of digital is we try things, and if it doesn't work, we erase really quickly. So yeah, why not? But let's build up our understanding of this value first. My process is lesson and patience. Especially in today's world where it's all about, you know, getting to the end product right away. I think many, heck, even myself, I lack a lot of patience in a lot of ways. More drama, yes! Exclamation point. You know, you can't really pack enough drama into this. Don't hold back, I would say. I've done a lot of research on video creation, and it's really interesting how if you act out like 200%, like 150% of yourself, where you're kind of over the top, and while you're doing it, you're thinking, wow, I'm really over the top on this. This is not me. I'm kind of acting out. And then you look at it on camera and you're like, you know, after you recorded it, and you're like, wow, it doesn't seem very over the top at all, which is really interesting how that kind of changes. Okay, so the muzzle is going to be dark in the center, because if we looked at the profile of the tiger, it would, let me see if I can illustrate this. So the nose, can't see it at all up there. I know I'm drawing. I feel like I need to reset Krita. Oh no, it's transparency. I got the alpha lock on. That's what's happening. Here, I'll go up here. If we look at the, you know, the profile of this tiger, like the nose is going to come down this way, and then it's going to have a, like that, kind of like a dog's nose, or, you know, yeah, many animals' noses, like a bear. We have this kind of angle that it angles down in the front, so it's going to get less light in that way. Let me get back to the color. Okay. And back to the brush I was using. What brush was I using? Is it this guy? No. Not that one. Now I can't remember what brush I was using. I think it was this one. Yeah, okay, yeah, it was this one. Okay. So the front of the muzzle, the nose and everything. You can kind of see it on our older tiger here. It's hard to tell because there's white that's there as well. It's the local color is adjusting kind of how we're observing that. And then just really light on the sides here. Maybe even down the sides of the head just a tiny bit, just really kind of darken that up just a little bit. We still have some ways to go on as far as values concerned. Let's lighten this up and intensify it a bit. That didn't really lighten it up. Nope, a little bit more. Yeah, definitely. And I'm not dealing with local color on this because local color is going to, change all of this. I'm just dealing with how the shadows would flow on this tiger's head right now, how the light will flow. Let's go a little bit lighter. So the forehead of the tiger all the way up to here, to the brow, before it turns down, is going to get, most of the light. And then on the top of the ears. And then at the sides with the mane that's kind of coming out, we'll add in some there. Maybe a bit more subtle transition there. Now the brow is going to kind of curve down into the eye sockets. I think there's still going to, the bridge of the nose all the way up to the forehead. There's a particular name for this triangular shape on the top of the bridge of the nose, at least for humans. I forget the name of it. Bridge of the nose is going to get that light. The top of the muzzle is going to get that light. These cheekbones, going to bring out the light on those cheekbones there. It's funny how you look at this and you think of current makeup trends, and you see a lot of makeup where they outline the eyes in black. Actually, the painting the eyes in oil tutorial that I just released a few days ago, the person that I was, the model that I was painting from had like similar makeup around the eyes, which is really interesting. Makes a very striking look. And here we have it automatically in nature. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's back this up, see what we got. Yeah, it's not very structurally sound, so there's, the structure seems a bit, how can I describe it? I don't have enough corners, basically. What do I mean by that? There's, it's too soft, like soft everywhere. So let's get a harder brush, get my darker color, and let's create some corners. Just to give a better understanding of the shape of the head. So especially around the eye sockets. And there's a lot of kind of guesstimation that's happening in here. Like, I know that the brow is turning down into the eyes. And here this was an accident, but it's a total incorrectness with light and how it functions on form, but I'll probably use it. So the eyeball would be in shadow as well. It would be darker, but we're probably not going to do that. I'm probably going to keep it like it's not even being touched by light. It gives this kind of glowing effect. So you can see the difference over here when I do this eye. So I'm really darkening up, creating some sharp edges within this area. Probably not sharp enough, honestly. Okay, I don't like this brush. I think it's picking up a bunch of stuff. Don't I really hate the texture on that brush. I honestly think, I'm not 100% sure in here, but I think that the pattern, what do you call it? The random pattern thing is broken on Krita right now. I have to look at like the latest release and see if people are complaining about that, or maybe they made a change so it doesn't work the way that I'm thinking any longer. Working with a really huge brush here, like bigger than I can control, and that's kind of where you want to be at. Too big where it's like a little bit uncomfortable. It'll keep you away from the details because we're just thinking about the light here. Adding, trying to get some structure added to the tiger's head. Really turn those forms. Get the planes involved. And try some things like darkening up the top of the bridge of the nose there a bit more. Maybe bringing a little bit of light down here. That's too much. We're getting really dramatic on this, I tell you. Thinker says, when you get to the oil painting, could spend some time on the values of colors and various ways to change the value. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good point. Because right now I'm dealing with one hue. I'm not bothering with any other hues on this. I'm just worrying about the value. And, the best way to think about value is to not get any other aspects of the color involved. Just deal with the value itself. So stay with the same hue. So like if you're just black and white, gray, that would be the hue that you're working in. Oh, the one thing I want to do is darken up this whole leg back here. And then this chest in like a triangular pattern is going to get dark. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing just one hue right now. This kind of same orange and just changing the value of it just a bit. Darkening up the top of the paws there, the feet. Let's work with some of those blending brushes right now. Maybe one that has a bit more texture to it. Always got to be careful of these blending brushes. It's a quick way to soften out everything too much to a point where you lose that structure. But this is just, I'm actually working really quickly here. And just getting some, notes in place. I love how like kind of music works well when you're describing a lot of things. So these kind of notes that I'm putting down of value. Preparing the way for our more detailed work on the painting. You know what's great about it? I can always control U on this and remove all the saturation of these layers. Okay, let's do it on this one. And then one more. And look at the value ranges that we have just in black and whites and grays. And, you kind of see right away that we still have so much more room to push this, right? If I go to white, which we would never use just plain white, even on this brush, and then I say, bam, white, look at that. There's like the value difference from that is tremendous. We can test it here. So here I am, like second from, and like this would be, yeah, second from the most from white. And then if I choose the gray, I'm right here in the center. So I've jumped really far. Let's bring that color back though. Okay. What I might do is, oof, that color picker is really annoying me. I'm probably going to use some of what's back here. So I'm going to play with this a bit before we get into that stripe of light that we were talking about, that you were suggesting, Thinker. So I'm putting this on the layer that I used with a like a gradient. This very intense orange. Let me bring it up here in places. Okay. Let's hide our reference images. And here's what we're going to do. Fun with light. I'm going to pour some more tea, and I'm thinking we're still pretty low in our value range. And if there is a shaft of light that's coming through and hitting, kind of like hitting the tiger, where are we going to do that at? I have no idea. But what we can do, and I think it's going to be on the head more than anything. Let's make it too dramatic. Let's just go stupid with it, okay? And I'll put this on a new layer. I'll do it under the eye. Hey, Godly Sports 05. Cool name. And he says they say this is cool. Thank you so much. Okay. Let's say that there is a shaft of light coming down. Okay. And it's hitting the tiger. We'll lock that alpha transparency as well, the inherent alpha. Maybe the hindquarter can be even darker to suggest the tiger is coming out of the jungle. Yes, that's a good idea. you know, darken it up back there. Let's do that first. Give me a second. Make my brush really big. Darken that tiger's butt. Even that leg. Let's go a bit darker, a bit more gray. I mean, once you know color, here's one thing I'm going to say. Once you know color in a lot of ways, you'll know how to play with emotions. So if you want to push things back and make it so people don't pay attention to it, what do you do to it? What would you do to a color to push it back and have it so people don't pay attention to it? You would make it darker and grayer. That's what you would do. You would remove all color from it, or a lot of the color from it, and make it darker. So there we go. That's what we just did. I made it grayer and darker. Okay, we're going to hit a very light color. There it is. I'm actually going to go even lighter and closer to yellow with this as well. Let's say, you know how you see in a lot of movies where there's, you know, the villain has this kind of scar over the front of their head and it kind of goes through the eye. You see it. It's like a trope, right? You see it all the time. What would that look like if we started a shaft of light that did this, curved down, hit there. And then because this is the jungle, you're not going to get something that perfect. What you would get, and we will blur this out definitely, you'll get some speckling, right? So totally just making this up out of my head. And it would probably be darker here because we're still following the form, okay? Still got to follow that form. And darker here. A little bit darker down there. But even more intense up here. Let's go almost all white right there. All right, and then it's on a separate layer, so we can go filter, blur, Gaussian, whatever you want to call it. Blur. We'll blur it out. And then we can also do this. We can change the layer to a color dodge. And that just makes it glow. So that's pretty extreme. I mean, that's kind of like maybe too much. I don't know. Pretty interesting though. So that's one idea. Let's cut that one off. Let's hit insert, add another one. Okay. So what would be something else, maybe a little bit more natural? And that was opposite from our palm frond angle, which is pretty good, you know, making kind of an X there in some way. But what if instead of with that, we'll use an airbrush this time, and we're gonna pick an orangey color that is way down here, closer to white, like really intense. Yeah, let's keep it really intense. Right, well, midway intense, yeah. Smaller. What would it look like if it was just, it looked like it was almost straight up and down? Actually, I like that other brush I was using for this. And then blurring it out. Because I can get some harder edges in that. Lighter. Oh, and let's I tell you what, let's go ahead and change it to a color dodge mode. Oof. Gotta be careful of those color dodges, right? It all depends on the color that you pick. Hit delete. Let's see what this works with. Wow, look how that just brightens everything up. Maybe over here. Just yellows everything out. It's really interesting. Let's pick out a darker orange. How does that dodge the color? Oh, there we go. Color dodge is always fun to use, especially with this kind of speckled light thing. I see it used a lot. Okay, so kind of all over the place a little bit. Let's go ahead and filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Because if there's one thing that I know about light and how it functions, is we're really casting shadows here. So you're thinking about a break in the jungle where the light shaft is coming through and it's high above this tiger's head, right? And when it finally hits the tiger, it's pretty far away from whatever leaves are casting the shadow. And those edges will be very soft. So, and this is a hard and fast rule with light and how it functions, and you'll see it everywhere. The further the object casting the shadow from what it's casting it on, those edges will be softer. And you can observe this really easily. Get a white sheet of paper, shine a light on a cylinder and cast the shadow from the cylinder onto that white sheet of paper. Or, you know, even better, like you're out at night and you're looking at the shadows cast by street lamps. The further that shadow cast is away from the street lamp, the edge will be softer on it, and the closer it gets, the edge will be harder. You'll see it on when people do spheres and stuff for tutorials. So these shadows will be softer. I really like how interesting that is. I would actually want to, let me get off my, whoa. Maybe add in a couple hits of light and down here. Let's just use it with, let's do this within a airbrush. So I can just kind of pop it on there. Yeah, I don't want to do too much. You do too much and it, you know, if everything's bright, nothing's bright. Okay, so that is specular light 1, I guess. You know, no, it's not really specular light. I don't know what specular light is exactly. I have to read on it. So that's the crazy light on the Tiger 1, and then this was 2. Kind of like this. That's really dramatic. I think I want to redo this one though, because I wasn't you know, I did the color dodge afterwards and I didn't have a really nice color to it. So let's get back to that awesome brush from David Revoy. And this color was a bit better. And remember, always think about the form here, okay? Don't just put a stripe straight through. You flattened out everything. It turns down into the eye, then comes out from the eye and turns down from the cheekbone. Okay, got to think about that form. We're casting light over a form. Always think about it. You want to make your paintings look real, like they're about to jump out of the jungle and chew you up. Always think about the form. That's almost like Thinker, what do you think about this one? I mean, it's in your name. You're obviously thinking about this. I feel like it's almost too like movie industry trope has been played out all the time kind of thing. I'll go ahead and add in a bit of that. Okay, so that's super dramatic. I think either one is really dramatic. It's just this one here looks a bit more naturalistic and not contrived. That's the word I was looking for. The other one looks just too contrived. I'm going to make this bigger, actually. Yeah, you're right. Either one adds to the drama. I like the one that doesn't look contrived. There's both. There's a contrived one. I mean, really, if I think a viewer would see this and go, you know what, they made that up, so it's like a scar over the head, right? And that would pull away from perseverance. That would pull away from the major idea. I don't want the person to think about me, the artist. Okay. We got it. We got the things done. Wow, there's some times when I'm doing something else and I'm trying to talk on the stream that it's like, yeah, just not coherent at all. Okay. What we just did there was the underlayers. We've set up the structure for the head in light and shadow. Now it's time to get into the fun parts. We're going to get into the details. And this is going to be multiple streams of me working up these details. And what's great about it, what I love about what I just did, was I have all of this texture underneath that I can work from, that can help me out, that can, inform what I'm already doing. And you know what? I think I'm going to keep the drawing there as well. To help inform this whole thing. Maybe turn it down just a little bit. Yeah, like that. That's actually really good. Up to 70. Let's do 75. Yeah. But what's really great about this is now I know that like right under this tiger's eye, like our reference over here, if I pick out this white color and I put it there, that's wrong. I mean, you could tell right away that is wrong because I just set up this area and now I know it's in shadow. So it's not going to be that crazy white. What's it going to be, Chris? It's going to be, well, this is white. The local color is white. You add a shadow to it. It's going to be a gray. We're going to stay on that local color area, but we're just going to bring it down. I may bring in a little bit of that orange that we have selected. But this is going to pop in right here. And what we're going to do is we're not going to do this. We're not going to go fill in like color by number. No. If we wanted to have a comic book, we would outline it and then color it that way. I don't want a comic book. So what I'm going to do is look at the object, especially on this tiger. I mean, if I zoom into this reference, all the hair follicles are telling you where, and the stripes are telling you where the form is and the way the form flows through space. And we're going to describe that form as we add in our colors and our values. That's what we're going to do. And then we can also affect it in different ways. So I could even darken this up in a couple places. I don't like that I'm not able to go over the drawing though. I want the drawing in the background. So here's what I'm going to do. This is Tiger and Rock, so I'm going to do Control J on the drawing, and I'm going to bring it down underneath our layer there, and then hide that whole section. Did I make a second copy of it? Why do we have it up there again? That's really interesting. Look how drastic that is too. Copy of Tiger and Rock. Yeah, that's really weird. I just hit it once, but it copied it twice. It's okay. I can shift delete that layer. All right, so our drawing is hidden. Now, when I put color over it like that gray, I'm going to be going over the drawing as well. Trying to, situate this so I can actually see my reference while I'm painting. And I'll do a lot of picking from the reference as well. If I think that the colors there are pretty good and is going to work with, the value structure that we just set up, I will definitely use it. Use the tools. Use the tools, Luke. Also thinking about edges here. Sharp and soft. Where are they sharp? Where are they soft? And I'm going to go against the light we set up on this because I think it'll work better. And I'm going to set up the highlight and the eye to be a lot lighter than it should be. If I can actually get it to go down. I'm trying to be so subtle with it. But this brush is... There it goes. Nice. And then as black as we can get will be the pupil and places around the eye as well. The highest contrast in the whole painting will probably be right here. There you go. There's another thing. You want to bring attention to something? High contrast. And not just high contrast when I'm talking about in value, high contrast in everything. High contrast like between colors. So if you have an orange, add a blue. You have the complementary color. You have a soft edge, add a hard edge. All hard edges, that kind of thing. You want people, your viewer to look at a certain place in your painting. Contrast, add all that contrast. Taking my time, working this up right here. This is the most important part of the painting, the eye of the tiger, which is also the most important part of the first Rocky movie. Or no, the second Rocky movie, that's right. Oh, I loved that when I was a kid. Here's something that you want to think about is we have stripes everywhere. And if I'm looking at my reference, I mean, you look at all these stripes, and even if I do color selection, let's select a stripe that's up here in the top of the head. I mean, it's all the way up there in the darkest dark, top of the eye. It gets a bit darker, so there is some change, and it's so subtle, but there's change there. I'm probably going to push that change a bit more. So for example, this is my darkest dark. This is pure black. But right above the eye is a stripe, and I'm not going to make that as dark as it can get. I'm going to come down here pretty far. And this stripe is going to be like this. And it's going to flow with the same direction that the hairs are on our reference as well. Why am I making this lighter? Why am I making this stripe lighter? Because it's in light. This is really the just the fun part of the painting, because all of the heavy lifting is done, right? It's all done. I don't have to worry about the drawing. I don't have to worry about the value. I am worrying about the coloration of it. Picking the right color. Well, I am worried about the value. I take that back. I do worry about the value. But it's a lot easier. Like, everything's down and it's showing me where to go with the value. And now it's just, how can we improve in different ways? Make it more interesting. How can we have fun with it? More than anything, I think I'm thinking more about texture. And I'm getting deep into the details, we haven't really got a lot into the details. Maybe, some in the jungle. But even then, it was pretty soft, and the main idea of everything that was for the jungle was to not pull away from our center of interest, which is the tiger. Now, this is a way that I like to work. I work in these, I do it with my oil paintings. I do it within all my art, is I work in these little kind of daubs of paint, these blocks of paint. I keep building them up. And every single one that I put down flows with the form, either with the form or against the form. Whatever will best describe that form is how I will direct it. You don't have to work this way. But I won't give you any other ways to work, because this is how I work. Okay, you could, the other way to work that I've seen is you lay down a lot of flat color everywhere. And then you work not in kind of daubs of color, but you work with transitions more than anything. So a lot larger brush and continually transition from light to dark, intense to less intense. not a... I would have to show you more than describe it, I feel. I'm going to darken up the white that's under the eye a bit more. It's pulling away from the intensity of the eye that I want. Another thing that I notice as I'm doing this is our intense stripe is going to lose a lot of that if we don't do something about it. Let's see. I'll lighten it up a bit. I feel like when I lighten it up, I have to also saturate it as well. Oof, look at that. We could really change, we could really screw up that color. No, go back to 0. Yeah, just 100% saturation so I could lighten it up more. I'm going to make that a filter mask so that we can remove it later if we need to. And the one thing I'm noticing here, and maybe you see this already, you probably do, is these grays aren't working. With color, it's one of these things where if you add in just pure black, you will kill the color. I mean, it gets lost. I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe that. What I mean by killing the color. It's kind of, yeah, it's dead. It doesn't have much life to it. But if I add a hue to it, if I keep it within some kind of hue range, so if I select this gray here, you can see on my color picker that it's, you know, really close to the side, which is all grays. So let's intensify it by bringing it to the right a little bit. So we can keep the same value, but make it an actual color, you know, breathe some life into it. I can even light it up a bit. Yeah, that's much better. Definitely. And I'm going to jump back into this eye. And I'm going to grab this extreme yellow, zoom way in. Needs to be brighter. And I'm going to basically outline this eye. I see it within the reference of the tiger, but I'm going to push it here as much as I can. And I'm looking at each individual pixel here. It's kind of crazy. If I did this on an oil painting, I would be leaned right up next to the oil painting, holding my hand so that it's really steady. Okay, that looks good. It's just now we need to change the blending of it a little bit more. So this green here, okay, that looks like a green, but we got it all up in yellow. That's interesting. Lighten it up just a bit. Okay, looking good so far. Taking our time, doing it right. working hard to make this as successful and as impactful a painting as possible. See, even with this stripe, I'm going to make sure that I pull some color into it, intensify it a bit. It could be darker, definitely. All of these subtle changes I'm making in this little tiny area. Yeah, I watched this guy on stream for like an hour and he finished like a half an inch of painting. Oh, it was so boring. This is gonna happen. Oh my god, it's already 6 o'clock. All right, so I am not a full-time artist. I have a job, and I'm a very fortunate individual. I must say, I have not had a very hard life. Had a wonderful life thanks to my mom and my dad, and my mother's on the stream still, I think. But I still have this job, but I work from home, so even more fortunate. But I need to stop what I'm doing here and get moved over to work time. But yeah, this is looking kind of ugly right now. You're like, what? Thanks, Mom. She said yes. This is looking kind of ugly right now because your paintings will always go through this kind of ugly stage where you're working on it, you're doing the details, you got some things in place, and you got kind of the ugly stage going on. But just keep at it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep at it for the next stream. I'm going to keep working from this eye and kind of move out, stay within the top of the skull of this tiger. Always thinking about the texture and the form and the light as I'm working. Probably the next thing I'll do is pop in this eye over here and work that up a bit so I can make sure that the values of each area are working well. But that's going to be the next stream. But it's not going to be tomorrow. We're having a game night tonight. Mom, it'd be great if you could join, but you're halfway across the world. Or, well, you're across the entire United States. So, could you fly out tonight? Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Wish you could. You'd have a lot of fun. We're going to have some friends over, do a game night. I'm going to stay up later than I should. So, I'll be getting up later tomorrow. And I'm not going to have a stream because there's a lot of other things I need to do tomorrow. But we'll be back on Sunday. So look for that schedule. I'm going to be scheduling this on Sunday. And if you liked what you saw here and you want to paint on the actual document that I'm working on, it's going to be part of the resources that I share for a small price of $10 on my Gumroad. Just check the description and the link in below in the description in YouTube. And if you're listening to my voice right now, you get half off by using the coupon code CB, so C as in cat, B as in boy, 50 off, and you get 50 off. So for $5, right now we're up to 34 streams, 34 different downloads, and it's still growing, guys, for $5. Help me out here. Yeah, wish you could, Mom. Yeah, be there in spirit. Maybe I'll do a recording of it or something like that. We'll be a fun game night. We're playing one of the games that we love playing right now, and here I am staying on the stream longer because I'm wanting to talk to you. It's called Poetry for Neanderthals. Oh, it's so much fun. So you get a word or a phrase of 2 words, and you have to get the other person to say that word, right? So like the word ghost, okay? But you can only use 1 syllable words to describe this word. If you use 2 syllables, oh, I'll tell you about that in a moment. So if like the word is ghost, you could say something like dead men go boo, right? And then hopefully someone would say ghost, right? But then if you say a 2-syllable word, or if you mention one of the words on the card, we have this inflatable stick. It's called the no stick, and we get to hit you in the head with it. Just like a Neanderthal. It's a really fun game. So can't wait to play that with friends tomorrow and bat some friends in the head with a stick. Inflatable stick. It's a very soft thing. Gently. Anyway, fun stream, guys. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you Sunday. Have a great day. Have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend. See you Sunday.